Have you ever found yourself pulling away from social gatherings or avoiding people you once enjoyed spending time with? If you've been feeling more inclined to be alone lately, you're not alone. This shift is a completely natural part of aging. As we get older, our social needs and priorities change, and that's something not everyone talks about. But why is this happening, and why is it normal? In this video, we'll dive deep into 6 psychological reasons why you might start distancing yourself from others as you age, and how it's actually a sign of personal growth. From your increasing tolerance for nonsense to the emotional fatigue that comes with years of managing relationships, we'll explore why pulling away isn't a sign of loneliness, but rather an indication of wisdom, self-preservation, and clarity. You'll learn how your priorities shift as you get older, how grief can change your perspective on social connections, and why your increasing self-awareness allows you to protect your peace. Most importantly, you'll understand how these changes can lead to a healthier, more fulfilling life as you age. So, if you've been feeling more inclined to embrace solitude or selectively choose your social circle, stick with us. We'll show you how this transformation is not only normal but a healthy evolution in the journey of growing older. By the end of this video, you'll have a new understanding of why pulling away is not a problem to fix. It's simply part of the natural process of aging. If you are not subscribed, subscribe and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support means a lot to me, and if you enjoyed this video, you can help me continue spreading the valuable lessons by liking and sharing it. If you like the topic of this video, please comment 1. If you don't, please comment 0 to let me know how I can improve and make better videos for you. Now, let's begin. 1. Your tolerance for nonsense decreases. As you grow older, one of the most profound and liberating changes you experience is how your tolerance for nonsense starts to dramatically fade. It's not just that you grow more discerning. It's that you come to a place in your life where the frivolous, the superficial, and the toxic simply have no place in your world anymore. When you're younger, there's this subtle but persistent pressure to engage with everyone, to fit into every conversation, to entertain the drama, and even to tolerate toxic people or situations because it feels like it's what's expected of you. You may feel like you have no choice but to keep your smile on and nod along because, well, that's what normal people do, right? There's a part of you that thinks it's your responsibility to endure these things, that you need to be polite, to be agreeable, to be in the middle of it all. But as you get older, that feeling slowly begins to wither. It's like a switch is flipped, and suddenly you realize that your time, your energy, and your mental peace are far too valuable to be squandered on things that bring no value to your life. You've lived through enough to know that it's not worth sacrificing your well-being to meet others' expectations or keep up with shallow conversations. You've learned, through years of experience and trial, that the only things worth nurturing in your life are the relationships and situations that genuinely add to your happiness, growth, and sense of purpose. As the years pass, you begin to realize that your patience is no longer something you want to waste on negativity. Your capacity for dealing with it has shrunk so much that you can almost feel a visceral resistance when faced with toxic dynamics, whether in the form of gossip, drama, or people who constantly drain you without giving anything in return. You may even find yourself feeling an almost physical discomfort when you're around negativity, realizing that it doesn't just harm you mentally, it harms you physically, too. That constant state of unease, the emotional exhaustion from faking smiles or listening to meaningless chatter, becomes intolerable. Why would you keep allowing this into your life when you know how precious and finite time is? It's a gradual shift that happens, but it's also a powerful one. You begin to understand that you don't have to engage with those who only bring you stress. You don't need to continue friendships or interactions that offer nothing but negativity or mindless drama. The light bulb moment comes when you realize that you're under no obligation to entertain people, situations, or even thoughts that don't nourish your soul. And it's at that moment that you feel an intense sense of liberation. There is a quiet confidence that comes with letting go of what doesn't serve you. Walking away from toxic people or dismissing irrelevant drama no longer feels like a loss. It feels like a victory, a reclamation of your power. What's even more freeing is that as you grow older, you begin to cherish your peace more than you ever did before. You realize that choosing to protect your mental and emotional well-being is an act of self-love, not selfishness. The more you embrace this mindset, the more you start to surround yourself with people who truly uplift you, who challenge you in meaningful ways, and who value the same things you do. And in doing so, you create a life that's rich with purpose, filled with genuine connections and fulfilling experiences. The change is almost subtle, but it's transformative. The moment you decide that your time and energy are too precious to be spent on nonsense is the moment you free yourself from unnecessary weight, and in doing so, you create space for the things that truly matter. You become stronger, wiser, and more intentional with every decision, knowing that your peace and your happiness are the most important things you can preserve. It's a quiet rebellion, but it's one of the most empowering aspects of growing older. And it's something that, if you embrace it, can transform your life in ways you never imagined. 2. Your priorities shift. As we get older, there's a quiet yet profound transformation that takes place in our hearts and minds. The years bring a level of wisdom that shifts the lens through which we view the world. The priorities that once consumed us, filling every weekend with plans, maintaining a wide circle of friends, keeping up with the hustle and bustle, begin to lose their appeal. The urgency to be everywhere and do everything starts to fade, replaced by a newfound clarity and a deep understanding of what truly matters. As you age, you begin to realize just how limited your time and energy are. There's a sobering awareness that with each passing day, you have fewer resources to invest in things that don't truly feed your soul. You start asking yourself tough questions. Is this worth my time? Is this connection adding value to my life, or is it draining me? The quest for popularity and the chase to maintain a busy social calendar lose their luster. They no longer hold the same significance they once did. The constant whirlwind of social obligations, the need to impress, and the pressure to keep up with everyone around you seem shallow in comparison to the deeper, more meaningful pursuits that begin to emerge. Your focus starts to shift toward quality over quantity, and this change is both liberating and eye-opening. You begin to seek out genuine connections that nourish your heart, rather than just filling space. You crave real conversations, not the small talk that once seemed necessary to fit in. You want relationships that challenge you, and that make you feel seen, heard, and understood on a deeper level. You long for peace of mind, for the quiet moments that allow you to just be, rather than constantly striving or performing for others. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. This shift in priorities doesn't come without its challenges. As you begin to evaluate your relationships, you may find that certain friendships no longer align with who you are or who you've become. The people who once filled your days with chatter, drama, or the need to stay busy may no longer resonate with your soul. You start to feel an emotional disconnection, not out of malice, but out of the simple truth that you've grown in a different direction. And as painful as it may be, you start to pull away from those relationships that no longer serve your greater sense of peace, joy, and fulfillment. Letting go of these connections can be difficult. It's hard not to feel guilty when you start distancing yourself from people who once played significant roles in your life. But with this process comes an important lesson in self-preservation. You realize that it's not selfish to prioritize your emotional well-being and mental peace. It's necessary. You begin to understand that you don't owe anyone a part of you that isn't reciprocated with the same level of respect and care. You learn that it's okay to choose yourself and your happiness over the expectations or demands of others. At the same time, you start attracting people into your life who align with your values, your passions, and your desires. The connections you now seek are rooted in authenticity, trust, and mutual respect. The people who remain in your circle are those who understand you, who uplift you, and who make you feel that your time together is precious. You've learned that true friendship isn't about numbers, it's about the quality of the bond. And this is where the real richness of life begins to unfold. In this stage of life, you also find that solitude becomes a cherished companion. You no longer fear being alone. Instead, You embrace it as a time for introspection, self-growth, and relaxation. You've realized that peace isn't just about the absence of noise. It's about creating space for yourself to reconnect with who you truly are. You come to appreciate the simple joys, reading a book in silence, taking a walk in nature, enjoying a cup of coffee with your thoughts. These moments bring a sense of contentment that no social gathering or external validation could ever provide. Ultimately, the journey of aging teaches you that your priorities are not static. They evolve as you do. You may find yourself stepping away from the superficial and embracing the meaningful, from the noise and chaos to the quietude and peace. It's not about rejecting people or experiences, but rather about choosing the ones that align with your vision for happiness and fulfillment. The people who continue to occupy your life are those who support you in your growth, who respect your need for space, and who share in your newfound understanding of what truly matters. This is not a loss, it's a gain. The clarity that comes with age brings a deep sense of freedom, allowing you to live life on your terms, surrounded by those who truly matter. It's a shift from chasing approval to embracing authenticity, from doing things out of obligation to doing them out of joy. And in that, you find a richer, more meaningful existence that brings you closer to your truest self. 3. Emotional fatigue. Over the years, you've invested so much of yourself into managing relationships, navigating the ebb and flow of social dynamics, and fulfilling the expectations placed on you by family, friends, and even society. You've poured endless hours into making sure others are happy, trying to balance everyone's needs, desires, and sometimes their drama, all while quietly sacrificing pieces of yourself. It was never meant to be a burden at first. You did it because you cared, because connection was something you valued deeply. You wanted to be there for others, to be that reliable person, the one people could count on, the one who showed up when it mattered. But as the years passed, you began to notice a shift. What once felt like a natural flow of give and take started to feel more like an obligation. The endless strings of social events, constant conversations, and the demands of others slowly chipped away at your energy, leaving you drained. You began to notice that the smiles you put on felt forced, the laughter a little less genuine, and the excitement about seeing people began to fade into dread. What used to be a source of joy, the connections and the relationships, slowly started to feel like tasks. You'd find yourself counting down the minutes before it was all over, or feeling like you couldn't keep up the act any longer. Over time, it became clear, this wasn't just exhaustion, it was emotional fatigue. The mental load of managing everyone's needs had become overwhelming. You were constantly giving, and giving some more, but there was never enough time to replenish your well-being. The people who once brought joy now felt like they were draining your spirit, even though you cared for them deeply. You'd find yourself staying up late at night, replaying conversations, wondering if you said the right thing, if you had done enough, if anyone truly understood the toll it was taking on you. The weight of those endless emotional demands began to press down on you like a heavy blanket, making everything feel more suffocating with each passing day. It wasn't just about saying yes to everything, either. It was the constant worry, the need to be on all the time, to be the one with all the answers, to make sure everything was running smoothly for others, all the while neglecting the quiet spaces inside you that needed attention. Slowly, you realized that you had become a vessel for everyone else's emotions, while your towelings had been shoved aside, left to fester in the background. And with that realization came a deep sense of exhaustion, a bone-deep weariness that no amount of sleep seemed to cure. The worst part? It wasn't even about the people who drained you directly. It was the fact that you had lost yourself in the process. You had stopped taking the time to nurture your own needs, your desires, and your sense of self-worth. In the chaos of pleasing everyone, you had forgotten what it felt like to simply be, to be in a space where you didn't have to take care of anyone else's emotional baggage, where you could just exist in the stillness of your thoughts. And so, solitude, something that once may have felt uncomfortable or even lonely, became a quiet refuge. You began to crave peace, true peace, not the temporary distraction of distractions. You wanted silence, not because you didn't enjoy the company of others, but because it was in that stillness where you could hear yourself again. You realized that you didn't just need space for your physical self, but for your emotional self as well. It was in those moments of solitude that you could rest, recharge, and reclaim pieces of yourself that had been scattered for too long. That's when it hit you. Rest is not a luxury. It is a necessity. Not just physical rest, but emotional rest. And this realization wasn't just a fleeting thought. It became a profound understanding. You finally understood that you could no longer pour from an empty cup. You needed to fill yourself up again, to nurture your own mental and emotional health, before you could offer your presence and care to others. The truth was, you needed to be selfish for the right reasons. Because only when you took the time to heal, only when you allowed yourself that quiet space, could you return to the world as the person you truly wanted to be, not the one that was simply surviving it. 4. Loss and grief. As we grow older, the inevitability of loss becomes an undeniable truth. It's not just the passing of years, but the passing of people who once filled our lives with joy, laughter, and love. The friends who stood by us during our youthful days, the family who shared holidays, milestones, and ordinary moments, and the partners who filled our hearts. These beloved individuals gradually began to fade from our lives. Whether through death, distance, or time itself, the sense of loss grows deeper with each passing day. The impact of these losses cannot be overstated. It's a heart-wrenching experience that leaves you feeling emotionally drained, as though a piece of your very soul has been torn away. You may feel hollowed out, not just from the absence of their presence, but from the stark reminder that life is fleeting. The pain is not just the grief of the moment, but the ongoing ache of a world that continues without them, while you are left behind, holding the memories that once defined you. The weight of all this can become overwhelming, making it feel like you're walking through life with an invisible burden, the burden of loss. At some point, you may begin to withdraw from others, retreating into yourself as a way of coping with the intense grief you're carrying. This is not a sign of bitterness or resentment toward those still around, but rather a protective mechanism, a way to shield yourself from the further pain of more losses. You might find that the desire to connect with others wanes, not because you don't care about them, but because your heart feels too fragile, too exhausted from bearing the weight of so many emotional wounds. The thought of opening up again, of letting someone into the sacred space where your memories of lost loved ones live, can feel like an emotional risk that you're not ready to take. This shift is not rooted in depression, though it may appear similar to it. It's not about the absence of hope or the loss of the will to live. Rather, it's a quiet, introspective realization that your time here is limited. Each passing day is precious, and you start to understand that you no longer have the emotional bandwidth to invest in shallow relationships, in people who don't resonate with the deepest parts of who you are. The idea of spending time with someone who doesn't truly enrich your soul becomes increasingly less appealing. You realize that what you crave is not just company, but meaningful connection. As you age, the clarity that comes with loss also brings an understanding of what truly matters. Peace. You yearn for serenity, for the quiet comfort of those few people who understand the intricacies of your heart, who accept you fully without judgment or pretense. These are the individuals who make you feel safe, who offer support without expectation, who are there not just in the good times, but especially in the difficult moments. You begin to cherish these rare, genuine relationships, knowing that they are the ones that matter most. You may find yourself spending more time in solitude, not as a means of isolating yourself from the world, but as a conscious decision to protect your emotional well-being. The grief you carry from past losses, the memories that can sometimes bring a tear to your eye or a lump to your throat, create a quiet space where only those who truly understand you can enter. This is a space of healing, a place where you can reflect, recharge, and find peace without the noise of the world constantly demanding your attention. This shift in perspective is profound. It's an awakening to the realization that, as time continues to slip away, what you truly need is not just companionship, but peace. The desire for meaningful connections becomes a guiding principle, and the notion of spending your precious time with people who add little to your life becomes less and less appealing. You begin to protect your energy, knowing that it is finite and precious. In this new stage of life, you learn the delicate art of letting go. Letting go of superficial relationships, letting go of unnecessary obligations, and letting go of the need to constantly be surrounded by people. This process isn't about giving up on relationships or retreating into loneliness. It's about finding balance, about recognizing that what you need now is different from what you needed in your younger years. It's about embracing the wisdom that comes with age and understanding that your emotional and spiritual well-being is paramount. It's about learning that it's okay to step back, to spend more time with yourself, and to prioritize your peace of mind above all else. The people who truly matter, those who bring you joy, comfort, and understanding, will remain, and their presence will become even more treasured. So, while the world around you may continue to change, and while the losses may continue to come, you come to realize that the greatest gift you can give yourself in these later years is the gift of peace. The peace that comes from knowing what truly matters, and the freedom to choose to spend your time in a way that nourishes your soul. 5. Increased self-awareness. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 2 below to let me know that you are still here with me. As the years pass, we are often gifted with a kind of clarity that only time can bring. The wisdom of increased self-awareness. With age, we begin to truly understand who we are, not just on the surface, but on a much deeper level. We come to realize what we truly need from life, what triggers us, and, perhaps most profoundly, what brings us the kind of joy that fills our hearts and sustains our spirits. This self-knowledge is a quiet but incredibly powerful force, one that empowers us to set boundaries that were once hard to establish. No longer do we feel compelled to tolerate people or situations that challenge our values or suck away the energy we so desperately need to nurture ourselves. We become discerning in the best possible way. We learn to protect ourselves, not out of bitterness, but out of a deep desire to preserve our emotional and mental well-being. It's not a retreat from society, it's an act of self-preservation. In a world that constantly demands so much from us, we begin to understand the profound importance of safeguarding our peace. We come to realize that our energy is precious, and we're no longer willing to give it away to anything or anyone that doesn't align with who we are or where we want to go. This shift, though subtle, is transformative. It's a reminder that as we age, we don't simply grow older. We grow stronger, more resilient, and more deeply connected to the essence of our own being. 6. Time becomes more valuable. As the years pass, you begin to truly grasp the magnitude of time, how fleeting it is and how much it truly matters. What once seemed like an endless stretch of days, ripe with opportunities to fill, now feels increasingly precious, as if each hour is a rare gift. You start to look at your time through a different lens, realizing that it's no longer something you can afford to squander. The hustle and bustle that once occupied your days begin to feel less necessary. You no longer feel the need to fill your schedule with trivial social obligations that once seemed important but now feel hollow and draining. Instead, you become more intentional, more selective, about where you invest your time and, more importantly, with whom you share it. The people who bring joy, peace, and authenticity into your life become your priority. Those who nourish your spirit rather than deplete it. You start cherishing moments of solitude, where you can reflect, rejuvenate, and reconnect with yourself. This isn't about loneliness. It's about choosing quality over quantity, about understanding that your time, your energy, and your peace are irreplaceable treasures. It's a beautiful, albeit sometimes sobering, shift, a quiet acknowledgement that as the years go by, you deserve to protect these sacred gifts, ensuring they're spent in ways that truly matter. You realize that time is not something to be taken for granted, but rather something to be honored with careful thought and meaningful decisions. As we reflect on the value of time, it's clear that as we age, the way we view and spend our time transforms in powerful ways. We've learned that time becomes more precious, and the choices we make regarding how to spend it can have a profound impact on our well-being and happiness. Whether it's embracing solitude, nurturing meaningful relationships, or focusing on self-care, we realize that every moment counts. Now, I want to hear from you. What is one thing you've learned from this video that you plan to bring into your own life? How will you begin to value your time more intentionally moving forward? Please leave your thoughts in the comments below. I would love to hear how this has resonated with you. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share it with those who might benefit from this message, and hit the subscribe button so you never miss an update. Thank you for being part of our community, and we'll see you in the next video.